This is a clip from an earlier live stream. I know you're going to like it, so the link to the full video is down below. Check it out. I'll see you over there. With jury and all the discovery process and so forth, if it did go to trial, it would probably not even be to 2027.
Exactly. And then too, the parties, you know, let's say they say there's additional discovery needed close to the trial date. Maybe one of the parties requests a continuance of the trial, and then suddenly the trial's pushed back another 2, 3, 6 months. And so, like, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's going to be gathering discovery, and that's going to be the question: is like, does Candace Owens want to put herself through all these discovery measures? Also, I think the McCrones got to ask that question too themselves, because they're going to be, you know, subject to discovery as well for the next 1.5 years, 2 years. So would that incentivize them to settle for some type of way they could if they feel like they won that motion to dismiss stage?
Right. No, I got you. Yeah, so we got to get them quote fingers, get the quotey fingers. Okay, here's a good question, and I think this one kind of wraps it up. What's the likelihood that Candace Owens is doing all of this, the McCrones, TPUSA, simply as a quest for fame and attention? I'm going to give my own answer. I'm going to go with about 80%. I'm about 80% certain that is exactly why she's doing this. But that's
some people might choose a higher percentage than that, because ultimately when you start looking at, you know, the monetary figures that can come in, the viewership, there's such a strong incentive to say certain views or opinions that maybe even the content creators themselves don't believe, but they're just driven by that incentive to do so. And so, you know, that could be a possibility here. And, you know, we could, you know, if we were in discovery, we could ask Candace Owens that too. Like, you know, hey, is this a quest for fame and attention? Now, her lawyers might object to that framing of the question,
for sure,
as, you know, in some sense. But I think you could get to that point and try to reason that out. And then for other content creators, I would just put it to you like this: if you were a content creator out there and you could only get like 100 views for your videos, right? But then all of a sudden I said, hey, if you talk about this subject, and I could guarantee you could get 50,000 views per video, what I could tell that content creator to talk about anything in the world, they're probably going to talk about the video, giving them 50,000 over 100, because that's probably some of their goals, whether it's money or attention.
Great point. I like how you did that, man. I feel like you were talking about me though. I feel a little slighted. I might not invite you back again.
No, I wouldn't talk about you. I'll put it to you like this: I do certain views on my YouTube about, like, shoot, I could do something about a football, you know what I mean, thing, and like people just don't really have an interest in it, you know. And I'm not necessarily like a former NFL player or a former NFL coach or anything. So people probably ask, hey, what is this guy giving me that I can't just watch on like NFL Network or ESPN, you name it. And so, like, I don't really blame them in that context. So it's like, you got to do, you know, what you think can sell, and, you know, what you can make that can work.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Somebody made a statement and I don't think they know everything about. All right. Somebody, I guess this person is very interested in this. Thank you so much. Yeah, you do have to get 1,000 subscribers. They're not just viewers, but subscribers. But a lot of people don't know, Nick, that you also have to get the 4,000 watch hours. And that 4,000 watch hours is a Herculean task for some people. Just to get, you can get all your cousins and frat brothers and knitting circle to subscribe to your channel. But if they're not watching it and not adding up that 4,000 watch hours, you are looking at a pretty steep hill to climb. So anyway, I just want to point that out to the person. Just explain watch hours.
And too, like, going back to the incentive, it's like, I mean, even for me as like a creator, like, I have to consider, how do I want to spend my day? Like, I can either work my actual lawyer job, right, and go bill hours and write motions, and I get paid for that, you know, like, this is money I'm in my pocket. But if I'm doing these YouTube videos on subjects that people really don't care to view, it's more of just a personal project and like an artistic expression, I think, more than it is like what I'm trying to get towards a professional goal in some sense. And so, like, again, that's kind of why I do my channel, is like, I mean, sure, I know it kind of can bring some attention to my channel, and that's definitely a benefit, because, you know, when you're, you know, starting business owner and stuff like that, you got to, you know, find a way to get business. And so, like, if I can spread legal knowledge on a popular subject, well, that not only kind of helps me with the attention, but, you know, maybe it brings me business in the future. So that's a huge incentive for me, is like, hey, what can I do to show people that I, you know, have some knowledge on this subject, I can speak about it. And if they were wanting to hire me, I've given them enough material to do so. And so that's a huge incentive of mine as well.
No, I agree. And I think you've proven it to us. I think you've proven it to us that you know what you're talking about. I saw a question right here. What is Candace's profession, by the way? I mean, she's a podcaster.
Yeah.
I
think housewife / podcaster, because when your husband has 250 million, you don't really have to work, or however much he has. So
you're right.
I think she really can kind of do whatever she wants in life. If she wants to sit home and make podcasts that draw attention to herself, she can do that. That's her right. Obviously, she's got to be within the confines of the First Amendment and not defame others. And so we got to remember that. But
right.
If I had 250 million sitting in the bank, I might be making YouTubes or hiring other people to make YouTubes for me. We'd have to see.
Right. I love it.
If I had 250 million, I might not have a job. You never know.
I love it. No. I think, well, we're glad that you've decided. What matter of fact, what pricked your fancy to actually start putting content out on YouTube, by the way? Because I think I just ran across a video you did. I'm always interested in lawyers speaking about the McCrone case, because again, I'm a pre-K law student. I know nothing. So when I see lawyers do it, I'm like, hey, this guy is quick, is very legal to the point. So what possessed you to do that? I don't want to say possessed you. What pricked you to do that?
Yeah, possessed me, getting taken over. No, really, the reason I started doing it is, I just working as an attorney. I was always an associate. So as an associate, you're an employee and you're subject to the control of your employer. And so one of the issues I always had is, like, as an associate attorney, I wanted to do stuff like this and, give my opinion on things. It's just the issue is your employer doesn't always want you to. Your employer generally doesn't feel like you have the professional judgment to state your views. And so a lot of employers I worked for didn't actually believe in me, in my professional judgment. They thought, I would slip up and say something. Maybe it was prejudice on their part because, I have a Southern accent. I'm dealing with New York attorneys or California attorneys, you name it. And so you never know. Ultimately, I stopped working for a firm. It didn't end, in the greatest of circumstance there. And I just asked myself, do I want to be an associate attorney where I'm subject to the control of an employer? Or do I want to go do this on my own and, go start my own business? And I'd worked for a bunch of solo practitioners, some in Jersey, some in one in LA, actually, for a year and a half or 2.5 years from Persia. They were just young. They were entrepreneurial. They were go-getters. And it gave me a model on how I could run my own practice. So I'd had about, 2.5 years of experience up to this point. And so I just said, yeah, I can do this. And I spoke with a bunch of attorneys I know in these professional networks, kind of sat down with about 10 to 15 local, well-accomplished attorneys here in San Diego to ask them their advice on how I should move about my affairs to, A, pay the bills, B, bring a long-term future to myself. And they had great advice, and I've been following it. So,
I love it.
I started working actually with a firm in Irvine, California on like a contract basis. So basically the way that works is, hey, they give me, an hourly thing. If I do work for them, they'll pay me hourly for it. You do your, paying your bills that way. But then, outside of doing your contract work, and I do contract work with about 2-3 other attorneys too. You do things independently. You get creative, and how can I get people to discover who I am? And I've got a website. I got a recent client actually through my website, so that was nice. And a lot of it's just trying to be entrepreneurial, get some views, get some people to find out who I am, my product, my brand, and that's a challenge. Trying to get your brand out there.
I like it. I know you liked that episode. This is actually a clip from a larger live stream. The link is down in the description, so you can go check it out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you down there. Grace and peace.